I have to speak up. I'm wearing a towel.
Oh, I muted myself to blow my nose. You think we click these icons? Oh, okay, it just goes right in. There's the sun. Hi, sun. How's it going? Are we spelunking yet? Whoa, is that a map? What the heck is going on? Whoa, we made a secret. Let's go down the secret. Ooh, a mini desk. Ooh. Okay. I don't know what this is all about, but okay. Ooh.
Oh yes, welcome to Spelunx.
Thanks. Hey, we can type in it. Look at that. How cool is that? How I Met Professor Spelunx. Oh, we got some reading. There was a town nestled in a quiet corner of the Yon-Yon Mountains on Yon-Yon Isle. It was a colorful town and a happy town. It was a town where I was born. The streets were paved with cobblestones and every building is painted in a different color. Pine trees tower above the rooftops and the delicate smells of pine wafts through the quiet streets. The king of the town was getting very old, and he decided that he must appoint a successor to his throne, for he had no children. When I was still young, the king and his council announced the great games. The contest to choose the next king or queen of the town. Naturally, there was much excitement in our little town during the weeks prior to the great games. Preparations were made. People were practicing the events. A great feast was being prepared. The streets were alive with talk and activity. The taverns were filled with old men bragging about their daughters and sons. Blue and yellow banners were hung across the sky, announcing the coming of the games. Maids and servants gossiped at the back rooms of the castle, and as the great games came closer and closer, the city's inns began to overflow with businesses and joviality. Joviality. Joviality? Okay, I've never heard that word used that way. Our little town was quickly growing into a metropolis. They're just tourists. Where was I during all this? For the most part, I was working hard in the local smithy. Ooh, good for you. Oh no. Oh, I know where that is. I was apprenticed to the town blacksmith. While all the excitement went on around me, I busily forged the tools, decorations, horseshoes, javelins, armor, and equipment that would be used in the game. Since I was too young to participate in the games, it was my duty to help the master smith. But even the master smith was too caught up in the excitement to get much work done. I found myself alone in the smithy many afternoons while the master smith relaxed and gossiped in the local taverns. That's them. It was on one of those busy afternoons that something odd happened. I was busily hammering this and shaping a helmet. The room glowed red with fire from the kiln. Sweat poured from my skin as echoes of metal beating on metal bounced from wall to wall. The mouth of the kiln was stretched wide like the jaws of a dragon. Suddenly, white sunlight flew into the room. I turned. There, framed in a shroud of white light, was the silhouette of an enormous figure. I lost breath and paused before I responded to this dramatic entry. I'm sorry, sir. You startled me. How can I help you? Without saying a word, the strange figure took a quick step inside and closed the door behind him. He startled me even more, and I stepped backwards, knocking over a bucket of water. You are very young to be a blacksmith, he said abruptly as he strode toward me. In the dim light, I could see him more closely. He wore a black robe that reached from the neck to the ankles of his black boots. A fanciful hat was perched on his head, and his face was covered with a black mask. Who are you? I asked with a shaking voice. I go by many names, but you can call me Count Alexander, he answered with a voice of iron in his eyes. The Count flashed through his mask. Now I have asked your question. You can answer mine. Are you the master smith? No, your excellency. I am only his apprentice. My name is Seudo. I am sorry, but the master smith is currently... Never mind about the master smith. It is you I am looking for. I have heard that your skill exceeds your master's. I stood as still as stone, but not knowing how to answer. I can see that you are modest about your skills, Mr. Seudo. Regardless, I want you to create me a masterpiece. A masterpiece, I replied. What do you mean? Are you aware of the order of the great games? Yes. Are you aware of that most vital contest which will decide the winner out of all the finalists? Without waiting for a reply, he pointed to the sky and announced, the final contest is yodel toasters. And the rules state that every participant must supply his or her own toaster. Do you have a toaster? I asked. Yes, he said, perturbed, but I don't have a masterpiece. I waited while he quickly stepped within an inch of my face. In a low, quiet tone, he said, I want you to make me the greatest toaster ever. The toaster that will help me win the games and make me king. A shimmer of excitement ran down my spine. This masked count was providing me with the greatest challenge of my life. This mysterious man in black was daring me to create a toaster that shined like the sun, a toaster that cooked toast to perfection, a toaster whose coils gleamed with pure orange heat. The stranger wanted me to craft the perfect toaster I could not refuse. I swallowed hard, looked at him in the eyes, lifted my chin, and said, I will do it, and you will be king. A smile spread across his uncovered mouth as he stood tall and strong. Thank you, kind Seudo. Here is a bag of gold for now. When the toaster is finished, I will give you another bag of gold. He threw me his small velvet pouch, bowed gracefully, spun, and left the room before I could thank him. The next 3 nights were sleepless. I spent my days working on my usual jobs, while I spent my nights creating the masterpiece that the masked man ordered. My eyes hung heavy with the monotony of the day, but I came awake at night. I sweated and labored for hours in the stillness, and slowly, under the hot forge fire, the toaster began to take shape. 3 days later, a masterpiece stood before me. Dang, this is long. Glittering in the firelight, its silver casing was formed, and contoured to perfection. Light seemed to dance on its surface like the surface of a crystal lake. Its ebony lift lever gilded like ice. Its lift sprang taut, waiting to release its bound power. The fire behind me began to die as I slumped lower and lower in my chair, admiring my creation as I fell into sleep. Soon I was dreaming of toasters. I dreamed that my toaster was in front of hundreds of smaller toasters, and they were all cheering and applauding my toaster. My toaster walked to the front of the castle and sat in the king's throne. A smaller toaster approached my toaster and placed a crown upon his head. The crowd cheered again, and I fell deeper and deeper into sleep. Mr. Seudo! What? I cried as I jumped out of my chair suddenly. There, in front of me, stood the masked Count Alexander. It was still night, and tiny stars peered through the cracked door. The furnace had died down to a mere reddening shimmer. I see that you have finished my toaster. He took a fresh piece of bread from beneath his cloak and dropped it into the machine. I waited with bated breath. A moment later, the toast jumped high into the air. He caught it and took a bite. Perfect, he whispered with a sigh of release. Except I am left-handed, and this is a right-handed toaster. For a moment, a flash of fear pulsed through my veins, and then I suddenly thought of an old blacksmith maxim. If you can't fix it, feature it. No, Your Excellency, I replied. This toaster is right-handed and left-handed, as I said as I picked up the toaster and turned it in the other direction. Very clever. I see why they call you a master of the craft. He paused and picked the toaster up as if to examine it more closely. He looked startled and said, "This toaster is heavy. Why, it must weigh 15 pounds. You are right, Your Excellency, I answered with a slight bow of the head, but you will find that this toaster is more powerful than any toaster that exists on this planet. An active matrix heating element expresses a more controlled heat, which will cause your toast to cook faster. In addition, the use of a lead-acid battery instead of the conventional nickel-cadmium and associated with the intelligent power management operations will give you much longer and more consistent battery life. Very good. Very good. Now, here's the rest of the money I promised you," he said as he handed me another velvet bag. I bowed again, and when I looked up, both the toaster and the masked man were gone, and the chill wind whistled through the half-closed door of the smithy. Oh, man, we're not done yet. The great games were a week away, and I worked hard in the smithy at all the odd jobs while the preparations went on around me. I never saw the mass count, and sometimes I began to wonder if it was all a dream. The week passed slowly, and each day I grew more excited, thinking of the games and thinking of Count Alexander. When the feast day arrived, I could hardly suppress my excitement. The bells of the church rang loud in the morning, and everyone gathered in the town square and surrounding streets for the opening feast. Tables were set in every place where there was a bit of room, and in some places where there was no room, and every table was a different color. People were everywhere, even on the rooftops. Men and women were dressed in the finest and brightest clothes. Children scampered and laughed. Banners and colored string fluttered with every building. Jests rose from the town as a chorus. The smell of food was delicious. Roasts and hams and honey cakes and pies, sweet milk and turkey, and cheeses from every capital, apple cider and bacon and waffles and hot maple candies and everything else you consider wonderful and delicious. It was all there. Hey, Shuttleword. The smells spread in every corner of every room of every house. No one could stay away. But someone did stay away. The mysterious Count Alexander. I looked for him all morning, but he was nowhere to be found, and I began to fear that he was just an illusion, or maybe he had changed his costume, so I did not know who he was. So I looked for someone who was tall, but there was no one as tall as the Count. Surely he would come to the feast, I thought, but I saw no one like Count Alexander, so I ate and enjoyed myself, but always with one eye searching for the Count. The feast ended in the afternoon, and it was time for the calling of the contestants. The king stood on a stage in the corner of the square with his arms around his shoulders, two assistants. His long white beard nearly touched the ground. He turned to the assistant to his right and muttered and mumbled something into his ear. The man held the king's right hand high in the air. The crowd settled down in silence. The king whispered something else into the man's ear. The man shook his head and said to the audience, "His Royal Highness wishes to have the contestants of the great games called forward." There was a general murmuring in the crowd as the king was helped back down his chair. A large man in blue, holding a very long list, walked forward. He put on the pair of tiny spectacles, and the crowd was quiet. And there's the calling the contestants. They seem to have long noses. You don't remember finding books? It was like it was right at the beginning. "Baron," he yelled, and then Abbott, Abdul, Ababai, Abel, Abelin, Abelard, Abigail, Abner, Abraham. One by one, men and women began to come to the front of the square. At certain names, the crowd would start to applaud, and the man who was calling names would have to raise his hand in a quieting gesture. He would say, "If you aren't quiet, we're going to have to cancel the entire contest." Everyone knew this wasn't true, but they tried to obey him nonetheless. Adler, Andriana, Agatha, Ashmeld. A shiver ran down my spine as I realized that the name Alexander would be coming soon. I shifted to the edge of my seat. Aiken, Aileen, Alan, Alburn, Alberta, Alkit, Aldwin, Alec, Alicia. My heart froze. Alfred. What? Alfred. What about Alexander? Alexander comes before Alfred. There was no Alexander then. Suddenly I remember that he called himself Count Alexander. I waded through the seas just as anxiously, but I was disappointed. Eventually the entire list was read, and the crowd of hundreds stood before us. The king grinned, and the man with the glasses drank a big glass of water, rubbed his throat, and sat down. There was no Count Alexander. I slouched in my chair, disheartened and disappointed. All of my work on the masterpiece was in vain. I toasted that I would never see the competition. This false count had made a fool of me and my craftsmanship. I put my face in my hands and blocked out this spectacle around me. I had never been so disappointed. I began to cry, and I hid my tears with my hands. Suddenly, amidst my self-pity, I noticed something very peculiar. The crowd was gasping. At first I thought something had happened to the king. I looked up at him. His eyes were wide, his mouth had dropped open, and his hands were clenched around the arms of his chair as he stared toward the sky. I glanced to the man who wore the small glasses. He also looked toward the sky. "What is that thing?" I heard someone beside me ask anxiously. He pointed to the sky with a rigid arm. In fact, all around me, men and women, girls and boys, dogs and cats, all looked into the sky with supreme curiosity. I took all this in an instant, and stared toward the sky with the rest of them. High above, the trees drifted a gigantic red and yellow ball. Every moment it seemed to be larger and larger, and was slowly descending down towards us. Soon everyone stared in silence as the thing moved toward the city square. As I came closer, it was obvious that the ball was a huge balloon with a basket attached. A man dressed in black stood in the basket. Before the balloon touched the ground, this man jumped out of the basket and landed on the ground beside the group of contestants. It was Count Alexander. He jumped onto the platform where the king sat, and as he did, the balloon went soaring back into the air. The crowd gasped again. The king sat still with a wary look on his old gray eyes. The count looked majestic, and I smiled as he bowed low before the king. Suddenly the king seemed a little more comfortable. "I offer you a gift, your highness," he said the count with a voice boom. The king nodded his head slightly, and the count held out a copper case. One of the king's assistants brought the strange gift to the king. It is a lizard, your highness, a reptile from a land across the ocean. The king showed, man, this is so long. The king showed his approval and a friendly nod, but the crowd released a corporate ah, and the man beside me said, "This strange masked man has been across the ocean. With this, the Count turned toward the man in glasses and said, "I would like to enter the contest." The crowd exclaimed, and the king looked surprised. With a slight confusion, the man with the glasses turned toward the king as if to ask a question. The king creased his forehead and gave a quick approving nod. "Very well," said the man with the glasses as he turned toward the Count. He nervously picked a pen out of his shirt pocket and looked down on the list. "What is your name, sir?" The crowd was still as quiet as the crowd was still as quiet night. The Count slowly turned and faced them as before. He was completely dressed in black, and his eyes sparkled with two small holes in his black mask. "My name," he said, "is Count Alexander." After such long preparations, the great games seemed to pass quickly. Needless to say, Count Alexander surpassed everyone. By the end of the week, Count Alexander and Phoebe Fay were in the lead. Count Alexander was leading by a comfortable 10 points. The only way he could lose the contest is somehow failed the last game, Yodel Toasters. The last day came, and the entire town moved out to the Yodel Cliffs to watch the finalists play the last contest. The object of Yodel Toasters was to drop a piece of bread from the top of the cliff down into the toaster at the bottom of the cliff. The toaster at the bottom of the cliff was controlled via remote control by the contestants. In this way, a contestant would be able to move the toaster back and forth to catch the bread. When the toaster shot back up, the contestants would try to catch the toast and eat it before the other player catches and eats his toast. That seemed like a really weird game. So many people were crowded around the bottom of the cliff that I couldn't see the contest, so I decided, perhaps unwisely, to find a higher place to watch the contest. I knew of a certain place in the cliff where I could have a good view of the games. I climbed there with much difficulty and arrived at my perch in time for Yodel Toasters to begin. The king himself came out for this game. There was much ceremony. The players were announced. There were 6 contestants, and all of them were greeted with cheering and celebration. Count Alexander walked out with a large black bag beneath his arm. The official toastmaster asked to see the toasters. From my position on the cliff, I could hear and see the silence of the townspeople as the Count unveiled his toaster from the black bag. When the inspection was completed, the man with the small glasses yelled in a loud voice, "Let the final great game begin!" Cheers and cheers. The final games continued all day, and Count Alexander was remarkable. The toaster flashed like lightning. He was undefeated in every round of the event. Finally came the last round, and only Phoebe Fay and Count Alexander were left to contend. But even if Count Alexander were to lose this round, he was still ahead by 50 points. As a matter of fact, the only way that Count Alexander could lose was if he missed the toast altogether, which only the worst players do. He was virtually the winner and the new king of our town. I stood up on the ledge where I had been sitting and began to cheer. "Hurrah!" I said. "Hurrah for Count Alexander! 3 cheers for Count Alexander!" And then I did a very foolish thing. I began to dance. I began to wave my arms and clap my hands and turned around in circles. "Hooray for Count Alexander! Hooray for Count Alexander! Hooray for..." And this is when the catastrophe happened. I slipped. Suddenly, I found myself falling backwards toward the air. If I were to have hit the ground, I surely would have died. But someone caught me. Something caught me. I hit something that seemed bouncy, like a trampoline. Hot red light surrounded me. I suddenly found myself flying back up into the air. A moment later, I found myself in the arms of the Count. It happened too fast for me to know what had transpired. I only learned later that the Count had done to save my life. He saw me as I fell from the cliff. Instead of catching his bread with his toaster, he used the remote control to move his toaster to catch me. Then he bounced me up into the air and caught me in his arms. Thus, he had lost the contest and the crown of our city by saving my life. The crowd bravely descended the large rope ladder while holding me in his arms. He approached the king and set me down. The crowd whispered admiration. "King," said the Count, "I have lost the contest, and Phoebe Fay may be made queen." "Yes," whispered the king, "but you have done a great and brave thing worthy of a king." "Alas, your highness, I'm afraid that I will never be a king." The king looked long and hard at the Count. The Count looked at the ground. "Count," There is no prize for second place. The Count did not respond. Count, you gave me a lizard. I would now like to give you a gift. The Count looked up and suddenly. If I had complete control of my kingdom, I would give you my crown. You seem like a worthy man. But there is a parliament. They don't allow that kind of thing. Instead, I'm going to give you a portion of my kingdom. It is a small and insignificant portion, but you may at least go there and call yourself king. Once again, the Count did not respond. He stood tall and still, and his eyes seemed to gleam for a moment. There was a place in the midst of the Yon-Yon Mountains where no one lives, and in the midst of this place is a cave. Count Alexander, you may have this place, and the cave that exists there. You may name this cave what you wish, and you may call yourself king of that domain. The Count bowed low. Thank you, your highness. You are too kind. Then he continued talking as he stood straight and tall. I accept your gracious offer. I will be king of this hidden place, and I will call my domain Spelunx. The crowd broke into excited whisper. What did he say? Spelunx? I wonder what that means, said many, and still others said, the king has given a fine gift. Hush! Cried the king, as he stood in his feet and quieted the crowd with his silence. There was silence. Now, said the king, as he turned toward the masked Count. He spoke loud so everyone could hear. Spelunx is a strange name. What does it mean, and who are you, Count? The king's eyes became anxious and bright. The crowd seemed to lean forward in unison. I stared at the Count with admiration and curiosity. A moment passed, and the tension rose. I am, said the Count, as he slowly moved his hand toward the mask. The crowd was tight, and no one breathed. Professor Alexander Spelunx. And with this, the Count tore the mask from his face. The crowd gasped with shock. There on top of that enormous black figure was the head of what looked like a giant teddy bear. He's a teddy bear, yelled someone amidst the silence, and instantaneously the crowd broke into such an explosion of cheer and applauding as it had never heard. And when I looked up into the eyes of Alexander Spelunx, I was surprised to see him struggling with a sort of shyness. He looked down at me and smiled, bowed slightly toward the king, and romped almost clumsily away from the crowd and into a nearby woods, but not before picking up his toaster. Suddenly, a thought came to my mind. I scampered off the king's platform and went running into the woods after the bear. It was not much trouble to catch him, and when I did, he greeted me happily. Count Spelunx, I said. Catch your breath, my friend. You saved my life, Mr. Spelunx. I owe you my life in return. Nonsense, he said with a reassuring and very bear-like laugh. I hesitated and sat down on a nearby log. He adjusted a pair of gold spectacles that rested upon his nose and lit a small black pipe. Count Spelunx, I began. You saved my life, and I ruined your chance of becoming king. Ha! It was nothing. Don't think about it, he said with a wave of his hand. He blew a ring of smoke into the trees above us. But I can't help but think about it, and I feel terrible. You must let me repay you. Let me come live with you in your domain. I will be your servant. Nonsense. I don't need a servant. Please. I think then he saw how desperate I was to repay the debt I owed to him. He sat down across from me and looked me in the eyes hey, there's the end. For some time, the birds whistled above us and the smoke rose from the pipe. Fine, he finally said with a smile and slapped his legs. You may come live with me, but remember, and he pointed his pipe at my face and looked very serious for a moment, you are not my servant, you are my friend. He then grinned a wide and happy grin, and I think I may have sobbed slightly and wiped my nose on my sleeve. We then set off together to the cave and the land he had named after himself, Spelunx. There, we built a kingdom and an expandable underground palace, and through the years we have become like brothers. I will forever be indebted to the bear who saved my life. 3 cheers for Professor Alexander Spelunx. The end. Well, there you go. That took about as much time as the other games. Spelunx Builder. Okay, this one's not as long. Set off in the Yon-Yon Mountains to create our own cave kingdom. We really had no idea how large the kingdom would eventually become. Things started simply enough with a rather interesting office, which is where you are now standing. After the office finished, we began working on other rooms. One day, while we were working on one of our other cave rooms, a stupendous concept occurred to me that would later prove to be my greatest invention. I called this invention the Spelunx Cave Builder. What exactly is the Spelunx Cave Builder? It's an unbelievable combination of machinery, computers, heavy equipment, electronics, hydraulics, magic, and more. The cave builder allows anyone to rearrange the entire layout of the cave. Rooms can be moved from one position to another in the blink of an eye. Tunnels can be built and torn down in a matter of seconds. Warp rooms can be added to any part of the cave. Large combination locks can be set to protect any secret portions of the cave. Even new rooms can be added to the Spelunx cave system with the greatest of ease, allowing for a virtually limitless cave. Of course, with all this power, we felt the location of the Spelunx Cave Builder would remain a secret. It wouldn't be good for just anyone to get into the builder and rearrange the entire layout of the cave, so Seudo and I have hidden the builder on the secret mezzanine layer of the cave where no one will find it, unless, of course, you happen to read this book. The only way to get to the mezzanine layer is to pull the elevator switch directly in between the top floor and the bottom floor. Okay, between the top and bottom floor. But the builder's secret location is not the only thing that protects the builders from intruders. There's also a decoder key that is required to open the panel that covers the builder. Without this key, the builder is practically off limits. Using the builder is rather simple. If you found the Spelunx cave and find this book and found the secret mezzanine layer and found the paper decoder key, you shouldn't have any trouble figuring out how to use the builder. And so ends my description of the Spelunx Cave Builder. I think I've divulged quite enough. So we need a decoder. Okay. Well, I better write this down. So we need a decoder. Decoder. We need pull switch. I think we can pull the switch. Okay. So we pull the switch between the top floor. Okay. And I guess this is.
Oh yes, welcome to Spelunx.
Whoa! This is Spelunx. Planets. Okay, this is stuff about planets. Okay, I'm gonna ignore that. Ooh.
I'm learning.
Ooh. I have no idea what's going on here. Oh. Interesting. I can drop rocks and we can hear the... Oh, that's it. That's actually kind of cool. 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 Cool beans. We haven't looked at this desk yet. This is like a coffee maker. You know, would this be more interesting if we had actual color? Because you don't have color. Whoa! Did somebody draw this at some point? I think somebody did. Yeah, we don't have color. Hey, Regulus. Do any of these other ones have anything on it? Demo. Look, you can draw stuff. Yeah, I think there's only one with stuff on it. Okay. Neat. Is there anything in these drawers? Ooh. It says Spelunx. Whoa, coffee. All right. So I guess we do have a one thing to do. Let's just find the decoder. A. So where's this elevator? Ooh, it's the sun. Hey, sun, what's up? A slow toad gets in a old bus.
A slow toad gets in an old bus.
Oh. We could make a sentence. The glue ate a toad in the sock.
The glue ate a toad in the sock.
I'm using mini VMAC actually. I'm not using Basilisk. I probably could have, but I decided to play it in black and white. Slow tree gets old sock rips bus.
Slow tree gets old sock rip bus.
Okay. Hey, there's a cat. Cat counter goes up. That was a cat. Unmistakable. Oh, I dropped it. Oh. Oh, now there's... Oh, it's a lizard. I thought it was a fishbowl. But it's a lizard. Okay. I guess it said say terrarium on it, didn't it? Oh, it's Toaster. It's the Toaster Yodel game. Okay. It's Toaster Yodeling game. Oh, it's a clock.
Slow tree gets old sock rip bus.
Yep, that's the sentence I put in. You're so smart. That sentence makes perfect sense. It's the best sentence ever. Oh, there's more stuff. It's a toaster. does this say? Oh, look, we can look in there. It was here. Smiley face. Oh, look at that. We can look inside and see the internal stuff. There's a toaster. There's an orange. There's a spider. What's that? What's that? Oh, there's some scissors. You got the spiders thing. What's that? There's a thing in the wall. There's a thing in the wall. Okay. Bart, what the heck is this? I have no idea what this is. Did I do that? Yeah, we played Cosmic Ozma. We didn't play the caves. We didn't play the caves. I didn't see the caves. Should we have played that one first? Or is that what this one is? Well, that's what this one is. So we're playing right now. Isn't it? That's what we're playing right now. It's called Spelunx and the Caves of Dr. Seudo. Yeah, that's what we're playing right now. You made me forget. Whoa! It's another. It's the. Are we back here? Wait, I'm confused now. Yeah, we are. Okay. Oh, there's something on this wall. Lighting distance. There's a CD version, I think, of all of these games. We just didn't play the CD version. Well, what are these? Ooh. Neat. I couldn't get the CD version working. Part of it was a me problem. Oh, here we go. I couldn't pull the lever. It wouldn't let me. It wouldn't let me pull it. I tried, but I couldn't pull it. Oh, maybe I can go down further. Can I go down further? I couldn't pull it. It wouldn't let me. Well, that's a big teapot or coffee pot or something. Oh, there's a door in it. What do you think, Regulus? Ooh, spooky! It'd be spooky in here. It looks like there's a lot of mini games in this. Like, An animating thing. Okay, well, I don't know how to do this. Whatever. So many mini games. This. How rude. $105. That's a long time. Luck in what way? Like, what do you mean? Like, I feel like I've done everything I need to do. But do we have to wait for that long? Oh no, we don't. We don't. 81. Okay, it's happening. We can go elsewhere while this happens. Pigtoad Tree. I can't stop it. Yes, I couldn't stop it. Oh, this is a different one. Oh, this is the actual music. Okay, we can actually change it then. What if I put that there? Okay. I have no idea what's going on here. Like none. What's this button do? Oh, it does that. Okay. Okay. I see what's going on here. Whoa! Oh man, it's one of those heads that makes noise and stuff. It's one of those heads that makes noise and stuff. This is also a head that, oh, no, it doesn't make noise. Did you change it? Play Freebird. Freebird. Okay. No, what? I feel like we need to find this decoder. Where do you think it is? Oh, is our tree grown yet? Oh, it has. Looks got flowers, leaves, and all that stuff. Neat. That serves no purpose, but neat, nonetheless. Might the decoder be in the manual? I hadn't thought about that. It might actually be. That's a really valid point. Let's see if there's a manual to it. I don't see one here, although there is an image. Was this game out for Windows? Oh, that's the actual image of the game. Not was this game out for Windows? If so, I might have a Windows version of it. I mean, not Windows, DOS. I meant DOS, not Windows. I thought it was. I thought it actually was. It does say there was a Windows version of it, which Windows 3.1 probably. According to my database, which is never wrong. I don't see Windows screenshots of it though, so. All right, let's look for the manual. I hadn't even thought about that. Whoops. It does say it's cardboard though. Okay, well let's see what it, let's see. There's no plot. Oh. Okay, it sounds to me like it's kind of pointless. Apparently they planned on releasing new rooms, but they never did. So there you go. There's also a version of this on Steam. There is really no plot. So it's, again, walking around. And I don't have it. I don't have the manual. Interesting. Interesting. I still don't know how to get to the thing though. Like, how do we get to it? It said we, well, if I can find the book room again. Was this it? No, that's not it. I feel like we've done almost everything in this game. Except find the secret thing. Except find the secret. We didn't find the secret. Dang it. Oh, this is the one. This is where we want to go. Yeah, I found an elevator. Oh, we didn't go up. We'll say that. We didn't go up. Ooh. What's this? Jupiter. Oh, Ordnance. Satellite. Earth. Saturn. Okay. We'll look at Saturn. Whoa. All right. Claire, what are you doing? Okay, I gotta look this up now. Is to pull the elevator switch directly in between the top floor and bottom floor. We can't do it though. I don't feel like we can. Unless there's something janky going on. Claire, what are you doing? Oh my goodness. Timing might be ridiculous. It is possible. Like, where's the elevator here? Which one's the elevator? This way? No, the other way. This way. It's the elevator right here. So yeah. Alright, I'm clicking. It didn't work. It didn't work. I am clicking the middle. See where my mouse pointer was? It was right on the middle. Oh, you have to do that? Without a mouse pointer, that's kind of difficult. Oh, I see. Can't figure out how to do it. I tried it. It didn't work. I tried. Well, can I stop in the center? That's a good question. But that's not what the book said to do. Is it? Or was it? Maybe it is what the book said to do. I don't know. Okay, apparently I can stop in the center. All right, here's where you need the decoder. So you need to figure out what teapot, pig, and whatever that face is. I think this is in the book. Yeah, it probably is. Goodness knows you gotta have copyright. You gotta have copyright, or copy protection. Well, I'm still gonna look for it. Well, what just happened? Oh. Yeah, that was weird. What? What's going on? What just happened? Oh, weird. Oh, here we go. I found it. Well, I found a thing. I found a thing that told you what it was. I also never started the timer again. So apparently teapot is K. Pig is M. And what are we calling this guy? Smiley? Sun? What do you think this is? Moon? Is it Smiley or Sun? It doesn't look like Sun. So we'll try X, I guess. You think Sun? Okay, we'll try S then. It was indeed. Okay, well, here's the builder. Oh, so we got these rooms, all right. So you do that. That. We can put a lock here. We put a lock on this room, I guess. Put a lock there with a code of 1, 2, 3. All right. Well, that's something, I guess. See what happens. Oh, look, the map changed. Wow. How cool is that? The answer is very cool. I keep going the wrong way, damn it. I didn't want to go in the elevator. That! There, jeez. This should be the warp. Then we're here. Okay, here's where we put a combination. Nice. Here's this room. Yay! Alright. I'd call this game done. I legitimately thought we were looking for a decoder in the game. Let's play the toaster game one more time. Let's see what we can actually do. Oh. Ah! Oh, my bread was overdone. Oh. You know, I think if you just hold in the right spot. No. No. Okay, this game kind of sucks. Dude, that was a bad throw, dude. Catch it! Whoa, you're not supposed to yeet it. Just drop it, man. 3, that's our best. Dude, you were supposed to catch it. You're a bad catcher of toast. And a bad thrower. He's a bad catcher and thrower of toast. He would never win this game and become king. That's for sure.